disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Are you awake yet, America? All of my normal people who have been deceived by the mainstream media into thinking that ICE should be abolished. All of my normal people who have been deceived into thinking that ICE is the enemy. ICE is the problem. I did not see ICE yesterday morning interrupting church in Minneapolis, Stan. I know last month Tim Walz was speaking into his microphone, or as Timmy prefers to call it, his tampon. I know he was insinuating that ICE would be doing stakeouts at mosque, waiting to arrest innocent Somalians as they worshipped Allah. But what I saw yesterday morning, that did not look like a mosque, and it damn sure didn't appear to be ICE. It looked like the woke army invaded a Catholic church and turned Sunday morning worship into a blasphemous session of toxic mouth farts. And who was leading the woke army into battle yesterday morning? Who was exercising his power after recently being promoted to brigadier general? One of the faces of huge embarrassing failure. The face of disgrace, Brigadier General Don Lemon. How miserable can you be? How desperate can you be? I know Don Lemon has this insatiable desire for attention, but even I was surprised to see Don Lemon go this far to generate the attention he so desperately desires. But KC, Don Lemon wasn't leading this peaceful protest at church. Don was simply on the scene covering the story as a journalist. Journal what? A journalist. Let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly. You expect me to believe that Don Lemon, who resides in New York City, you expect me to believe that Donnie packed his lemons and made the arduous journey to Minneapolis, Stan, and he just happened to be at church yesterday morning worshiping the Lord as the professional agitators interrupted the service. Donnie just happened to bring his cameraman. He just happened to bring his microphone along with his Bible, and he was ready to record and exploit Christians at a moment's notice. This was not a protest yesterday morning. This was an act of war. This was an attack on Christianity. I keep telling you guys, our perception, me and you, our perception does not matter. We might view these people as proud members of Club Doofus. We might view these people as radicals or harmless dumbasses, but they view you as the enemy. Like I told you guys last week, one side is engaged in a war, while most of us normal people are pretending like nothing is happening, nothing is wrong. And if normal people don't wake up, what happened yesterday morning in Minneapolis, Stan, that is a preview of coming attractions. If normal people don't wake up, what happened yesterday morning in Minnesota, that will be coming to a church near you. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel's in the description below. Today on the second channel, going to be talking about Morant achieving his lifelong goal of destroying his NBA career. Morant is once again taunting Adam Silver in the NBA front office. In the rare event that he actually makes a three, Morant is once again celebrating by pretending to shoot guns. Matter of fact, he's actually expanded and upgraded his arsenal. Morant is now pretending to throw grenades. He is pretending to shoot rockets with his mythical bazooka. And he's doing all this while having the worst season of his NBA career. Then he wonders why the Memphis Grizzlies can't wait to get rid of him. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description or the pinned comment below. Subscribe to the second channel. You know, if Democrats from the 1960s borrowed the time machine from Candace Owens, you know, the time machine that she uses to communicate with Charlie Kirk when she's unable to communicate with him in her dreams, if Democrats from the 1960s borrowed her time machine and they traveled to 2026, they would be called Republicans. They would be called normal people. If doofus Democrats from 2026 traveled back to the 1960s, they would probably be locked into heavily padded rooms and institutionalized. You don't have to take my word for it. Uncle KC always comes with the proof. Yesterday morning, led by Brigadier General Don Lemon, Lieutenant Doofus stormed a church in Minneapolis and recorded himself berating Christians as they were trying to worship. As you're about to see, this dude clearly hasn't interacted physically with a woman since birth. I'm sure he spends Friday nights on Lonely Man spanking the wanker to his automated girlfriend. If he happens to crave physical contact, he carries his inflatable girlfriend to the nearest gas station and borrows their air compressor, which is a tough journey this time of year in Minnesota with temperatures below freezing most of the time. It's tough to sit outside by the air compressor for an hour or so as your inflatable girlfriend comes to life. You know, years ago, Mike Tyson said, social media has made people far too comfortable saying whatever the hell they want without the threat of being punched in the mouth. The problem is the dorks on social media have now been emboldened. They have been indirectly encouraged by doofus politicians like Tim Walz to take their outrage off of Reddit and into real life. And the reason they've been emboldened is because they know cops in Minneapolis have basically been directed to stand down and not do a damn thing, which is why many cops in Minneapolis have quit and joined ICE. Watch this for yourself. You tell me if this unbelievable dork belongs on the streets. Roll the clip.
All these pretend Christians, all these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No! Jesus would die within this. Do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't.
You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners.
Let me ask you something. Do you think Val Virgin would storm a mosque and behave this way? You think Frank Spanker would invade services during Ramadan and refer to the parishioners as fake Muslims? You know why Val Virgin wouldn't do the same thing in a mosque? Because he knows he would get his ass kicked. That's one thing I do respect about Muslims. They don't play. They don't tolerate stupidity. They don't tolerate emotional outbursts from people who have clearly been infected with the woke fungus. When I talk about the woke fungus, that is not hyperbole. I just gave you proof. I just showed you what happens when someone is 100% infected. Supposedly, the woke army organized a battle plan and invaded this church yesterday morning because the associate pastor was accused of working with ICE. Brigadier General Don Lemon, who was disguised yesterday as a journalist, he spoke with the pastor about the church being invaded. Instead of sympathizing with the pastor, instead of trying to help get these turds out of the church and back to the porta potty so they could be transported to their next protest, Don Lemon decided to condescendingly berate the pastor for his inability to act like Jesus. Don then proceeded to show his ignorance and complete lack of understanding of the Constitution. Watch for yourself.
There's a Constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here. Yeah. Okay. That's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk. I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
Don Lemon is the worst actor I have ever seen. Not only is he pretending to act like a Christian, Donnie is also acting like he doesn't understand the Constitution. I know Don Lemon pretends to be stupid, but believe it or not, Don Lemon is a smart dude, and he knows the Constitution does not give you the right to storm a church and organize a protest. The Constitution does not give you the right to pollute the sacred air of a church with your toxic mouth farts. Again, the only reason this is happening in Minneapolis, Stan, is because they know Tim Walz and Jacob Frey won't do a damn thing about it. Deacons at Woke United Methodist, they know they can operate with impunity. My question is, where in the hell is the Trumper? For the last almost 3 weeks now, Minneapolis has been turned into a war zone. It's well on its way to becoming a third world dump. I know ICE is doing everything they can, but ICE can only do so much. I know Don Trump has threatened to use the Insurrection Act, but what the hell's he waiting for? At this point, I wouldn't care if Don rolled tanks through the streets of Minneapolis, Stan. Wouldn't be the first time that the American military was used on an American city. In the early 90s, I believe it was 1992, Los Angeles was filled with riots for days after the Rodney King verdict. Now, unlike the people protesting in Minneapolis, the LA protesters, they actually had a reason to be pissed off. They had a reason to be upset. But their outrage got out of control. Buildings were burning, innocent people were being attacked. After 5 days, it was finally decided enough was enough. The military was deployed. 10,000 soldiers were on the streets of Los Angeles. All of a sudden, the fake tough guys magically disappeared. They either disappeared into their homes or they disappeared into a jail cell. Either way, as soon as the tanks were rolling through the streets of Los Angeles, the riots suddenly ended. Strange how that works. My question is, what are they waiting for? In 1992, it took 5 days. How come over 30 years later, this stupidity is allowed to go on for 3 weeks? Send in the military and put an end to it. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.